Hello everyone, this is Callie Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this is your weekly forecast for October 3rd through the 9th of 2021. So I'm actually trying to get this up early on Thursday because I'm starting an ancestor class on Saturday with Yeye Louisa Tish, who is an amazing teacher guide and who has also put together this rich, brilliant class that couldn't be more on time, everyone. She calls it Cracking the Ancestral Code, Remembrance, Reverence, and Resilience Through Ancestral Storytelling. I love it. So we're going to do lots of storytelling, but there's 7 classes, 3 moon rituals, which I'm contributing, 1 praise singing for Oya, and a 9-day ancestor reverence ceremony where we honor 9 different layers of the soul. It's going to be so powerful right at the gate of power. Between October 31st and November 8th is our 9-day ceremony. It's going to be so juicy, y'all. But the reason I'm posting early is to hope to catch a few more of you. I've seen that you've been clicking the link. I don't know how many signed up, but the first class is Saturday, October 2nd. They're all Saturday classes. The last class will be November 13th. So it's 7 Saturdays in a row. If you go to the link, you can get the description and the syllabus, which explains everything we're going to do. It's just going to be so great. So I wanted to catch you all before the 2nd. So this is going up on September 30th to give you a few days. And hopefully more of you can join us because it is going to be so juicy. We are going to do all this work to connect with the ancestors and come out right at ancestor time. And then we'll all be interrupted probably by the holidays. But when we get back together in January, it's like this whole last quarter of the year is very important, y'all. We're going through a Mercury Retrograde right now, and then we're going to go through a Venus Retrograde, which only happens every 18 months, every year and a half. So it's been a while since we've had one. That's all rearranging things for us so that we can start the new year in a completely new zone with Jupiter in Pisces, which is also a culmination of a 12-year cycle, and taking us back into that womb development space of cultivating the vision we want to live by, right? So I love doing this on my own. I have a lot of intentional solitude rituals and things that I do, but I really love doing it in community as well. And this community is extremely diverse and worldwide and deeply dedicated, though. This is why I'm so happy I have found people to play with in the ancestral realm. So join us if you feel called. And our week kicks off the next day, Sunday the 3rd, is our first activation for the week, Mercury trine Jupiter. And now this is the second hit, and we've talked about this one before, how we're expanding our consciousness in a certain way that is opening us up to be able to learn about things we may have never been interested in before, or expand our knowledge on something we've loved all along. Like me, all this ancestor stuff is right up my alley. I've been doing it for 40 years or longer. So when the teacher is ready, the students appear. When the students are ready, the teacher appears. And so it's all tied up with Mercury and Jupiter as well. So I'd be curious if any of you have found new classes to take or new things to learn about, new mediums or modes of expression that you're playing with, because that's what this one is good for. This is where we're exploring how to expand our thinking in some way where we've become too narrow and habitual with our thinking. And Jupiter's like, no, we got to expand that. We got to break out of those limited confines that you have now outgrown anyway. But we acknowledge that because Mercury's retrograde while it does it, that it's a process. It's not a one and done. So the first hit was September 20th, right around equinox. Then we have this week, October 3rd, and Halloween, October 31st. So just imagine when we have 3 hits in a row like this, with any planet going retrograde and going zigzagging back and forth on your planets or planets in the sky, either way, you always want to look at that first hit as the initial awakening, and you look around, a week before, a week after that date, and you can find clues about what needs to be reviewed. Then this October 3rd, this second hit, is probably letting us know where our consciousness is. Whatever you focus on grows, and wherever you put your attention when Jupiter's kicking expands. So let's not do the doom scrolling too much. Let's get off of that, get back into our hearts, and get our feet on the earth, and let's listen to our higher self for the message that says this is a better way for you. This is a new direction you can go. This energy is great for expanding your mind, learning something new, or taking a class. It's time to plan for the future and start getting organized. However, you may feel less disciplined and more creative with this one, which is fine in the beginning. But eventually, focus and discipline will have to be engaged to ground your new ideas, thoughts, or concepts, right? You have to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? If you are self-aware, awake, and alert, you will be able to see and seize the opportunities as they present themselves. It may appear to be luck, but it's really more that you are in alignment with the cosmos, present and positive, and ultimately able to trust and follow your own instincts. Practice, there is no perfection. Being optimistic and looking for the opportunity in every experience will magnetize the positive and naturally repel the negative, leading right where you want to be. Take advantage of this good energy to connect to whatever it is that you are trying to create in your life at this time. So Jupiter's stretching you in the Aquarius department, resetting things to the tune of 12 years. You've had a whole education that's gone around the wheel and come back to Aquarius. And Mercury's in Libra saying, okay, I want to think about the future, but right now we have to think about how we partner and how we express ourselves within the context of partnerships and collaborations and things. So this is private and public. It is a learning curve. We're learning how to express ourselves in these new ways that are more appropriate to here and now. So since we are still just getting started with this Mercury retrograde in Libra, I have created a little class that includes some custom goodies for you. The replay, the tools, the Mercury, and the custom activations are all included if you're still interested in navigating this one consciously or knowing exactly what it's going to do to you personally, because you do get those activations. What Mercury is going to touch in your chart is kind of the value of the package. Then we go to Wednesday is a big day energetically. Pluto goes direct on the same day as the Libra new moon. So we have already been undergoing a certain amount of death, rebirth, and transformation thanks to Pluto, digging up in Capricorn. How many of you recognized just in the last 6 months that you were taking on certain responsibilities and obligations that may not actually be yours? And did you let them go? Or are you ready to let them go now? Because that's what's going to be useful. If you can lighten the load of situations, people, circumstances, choices, anything you've done that's weighing you down like that and is not a true representation of what you'd like to express or learn about in the world, this is the time to let it go. And usually we're kind of sitting on it, exploring it, letting it bubble in the cauldron while Pluto is backwards. But once it goes forward, you start to see what you really let go of and how clean and pure you are on the other side. So we'll get to that. First things first, the Libra new moon is an excellent time to set your intentions for restored balance within your own being, enabling healthier relationships naturally. Keep in mind that you will always attract your own vibrational match. So, how's your vibe these days? Is it inviting and welcoming or guarded and suspicious? This is the month to set intentions around conscious equal partnership, whether public or private, short-term or long-term. Balance is the key. This is the month to honor the scales. These are the scales that we must weigh our personal progress against our obvious manifestations in relationships, for better or worse. It's time to assess the strength and value of each one by one, and what kind of time, energy, and resources you have and are willing to invest further with this person, situation, or agreement. Soulful kinship and a sense of belonging are vital for most humans, and we need to cultivate that more than ever now. We can renegotiate as we go at regular intervals, and I highly recommend that we do. We can be part of something without being burdened by it. We can have soulful connections without losing ourselves. And we can still love each other, even if and when we do not agree. It's time to define your individual terms and start renegotiating with those who matter, while releasing those people, situations, or agreements which are no longer relevant or useful. You can also set intentions for new creativity and new collaborations. This is the time to do that. At the same time, with Mercury backwards and Venus, which rules Libra, going backwards shortly, there's still this developmental process we all have to go through before we can really jump to the new thing. Same day, Pluto Direct. So Pluto is in a long evolutionary and transformative process between 2008 and 2024 as it travels through the Capricorn sector of your chart, digging deep and activating any other planets you may have in Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or Libra by default. So it's good to look at this as an ongoing purification and transformation of this department in life, and subsequently the other three areas too. Pluto moves generations and great numbers of people along their evolutionary path. However, every year when it retrogrades, it turns that energy inward, giving us unique access to our own depths, where our soul self resides. When it goes forward, like today, it is a very gradual awakening process that develops from there. Transformation happens behind the scenes and often out of the prying eyes of others, as well as your own conscious mind, because this is deep soul work that only you can do. What have you really purified and transformed this year? Or what would you like to? On a personal level, Pluto helps you dig up any destructive unconscious patterns, strips you raw, and confronts you with who you are and how you will survive when nothing and no one else is available to help or support you. Deep breath, Pluto don't play. I like to think of Pluto as our buried treasures, and like diamonds, it requires a very special task to release from within and bring into the light. Often, because Pluto rules death, rebirth, and transformation, something is sacrificed for your own greater good. Although it is sometimes painful and can be debilitating to some, it doesn't have to be. But it almost always is A, necessary, and B, ultimately liberating. So we might call that the liberating ordeal. We have to go through something, but we're totally free on the other side, which makes it always worth it. The retrograde afforded a certain purification in the sense that you are now better able and supported to truly let go, strip away the non-essential in order to reconnect with your original intent. Now that it's going forward, you can begin to make new choices. Change is greatly supported at this time, so anything that you are really ready, truly willing, and finally able to change can be transformed forever. Capricorn gets everyone focused on choices and responsibilities, as well as the structure of life that supports and protects you and the overall stability of whatever house it rules. Okay, so it's good to know where Capricorn is for you, and if you don't know and want to know, feel free to email me directly and I'll make sure you have that information. Then on the 7th, which is Thursday, Venus enters Sag and almost immediately contacts the moon, and we have our Venus circle that night, so that's going to be interesting. So Venus entering Sag until November 5th. This is a big deal before I even get started on the fact that it's the precursor to her lingering in Capricorn. So this is the wake-up call, everyone. Between now and November 5th, you're going to start to feel what's bubbling in your relationships or financial departments that is up for a change, up for an upgrade. Usually we have to go into Sag to figure out the vision before we go into Capricorn to make it real. So what's going to happen now, I think, just my 2 cents and opinion, take it with a grain of salt, is that we've exploring all the new ways of expressing within the context of our relationships, which is changing things, right? It's changing who's willing to work with us or play with us or live with us or anything else. And so we have to, at this juncture, especially in the Venus cycle, because the whole cycle was about releasing the old story and starting the new one, this is where we're dreaming up the new story. So if we dream up the new story in October, November, then December, January is when not just Venus is going to linger there, but the other personal planets will get there to Capricorn, along with Pluto, who's living there for another couple of years, and help us make it real, help us bring it into form. Okay, this Capricorn season is going to be very rich with showing you the difference between talking about it and being about it, between doing it and being it, between the invisible vision and the visible work that has to go into making that possible for you and everyone else. So this is juicy because when Venus gets there, she gives us permission to expand our vision, but also puts the value on truth, authenticity, faith in a higher vision, not succumbing to pessimism, but being more optimistic and looking for the blessing even in the challenges, right? So when Venus is in Sag, we want to expand our relationships and improve our lives in some way. You start to recognize which exchanges with others energize you versus which ones drain you. And subsequently, some partnerships may see a cooling off period where one or both parties gets in touch with what they really believe to be true or possible and move from there. So that can go either way, y'all. You know, the person who's really pessimistic and believes that it's already over, they're going to walk away and quit, right? But the person who sees that there is a possibility and there's potential to be expanded on and a positive outcome is actually possible, if you see that, that's what you're going to get. So it's kind of what you believe is what you end up seeing. We don't get to see it first and then have to believe later, y'all. That's not how it works. So whatever you believe is what you end up making choices and acting on and telling the universe that this is what you believe. So let's upgrade that, right? Let's recognize how much of the old story we've already let go of and where the new story needs to be fleshed out, right? That's all it is. You're getting your new rhythm, and it's never immediate. It takes a little practice to get used to this expansion, to this free space. Like, I know even I'm upset. I know there's a lot of people upset, let's say, with the divisiveness that's going on in the world, in the social world, and in our families, right? But I absolutely know in my circumstance that it is for the greater good, that everybody takes a break to realign their own consciousness before we try to talk to each other again. And it's okay. So what that's done is actually freed up time and space from people I would normally be talking to or nurturing relationships with that don't want to nurture relationships with me anymore. So why would I spend that energy when it's not being reciprocated, when there's no return on investment? Okay, so Venus gets you real present to the exchange going on, whether it's in your relationships or your finances, right? So like I said, it's a time to be optimistic and look for those opportunities, even in choices and changes that are uncomfortable or challenging. This is the time to infuse your values and priorities with some diversity. Shake it up, expand in some way, do something different that allows your creativity to flow in new ways or through new mediums. That's always helpful too. Edit or develop the story that you are telling with your current values and priorities. And notice where you could be more imaginative and authentic, and thereby capable of telling a much more interesting story, don't you think? If you allow your own truth to guide you at this time. Think bigger. Then begin the steps toward manifesting a higher vision of how you relate with others going forward. So again, this is the dream space. This is where we want to dream up the great social situations we would like to experience, even knowing that COVID has changed how we do that. How do dating people meet each other now? Everything's different, right? So let's call in the vision of something juicy and wonderful and beautiful rather than settle for what's presented, because that's going to lack imagination and depth. I can guarantee you that. Man, 6th and 7th is pretty packed. Same day that Venus enters Sag, Sun conjuncts Mars. Now, this is a big deal because annually they get together and infuse energy and passion into whatever we're doing. And in this case, it's in Libra. This is the most potent combination of who you are and what you want, joining forces and increasing the power. The blessing of this energy is that if you are clear on those 2 points, basically who you are and what you want, you will have immense energy to pursue your goals and aspirations, both personally and professionally. Do not waste the opportunity to tap into this energy, which can and most likely will propel you to the next level. This energy can and will only make you irritable and argumentative if your ego is engaged and your insecurities become overwhelming. It would be much more productive to take some time alone to assess how you could improve things for yourself and begin that process, fully supported by this potent, creative, fiery energy, right? So deep breath in Libra. So this is also feeding into that reset that's going on with Mercury and Venus, because here we have an initiation of a new annual cycle. Doesn't always link up in Libra. This time it happens to be in Libra. So we know we need an initiation of being a kind of new person in our partnerships, whether they're private or public. It doesn't matter. Same day, the 7th is our Venus circle. It is Sag because the actual activation's on the 9th. So we're gathering 2 days before. Like I said, I don't usually cut it that close, but I think I just had too many things going on in this fall season. Our story is Scheherazade, so I will be sharing that, posting it on YouTube and Instagram shortly. And our archetype is the storyteller. So this is going to be a great call. We're coming down to the wire because, as you know, Venus is moving into Capricorn. So we're at the sacral chakra, reclaiming. We got the root chakra, and that's it. Then I'm going to have the open house, and we're going to start the new cycle. But if you have Gemini, Sag, or Virgo, Pisces really strong in your chart, this month's Venus circle may be for you, so feel free to join us. The links are here in the blog and in my email to the list. Make sure this is a good place to mention this. I know I have to update my Karmic Tools website to be more mobile friendly. So you all are not seeing the easy links that I have put there for you to get to my mailing list and join it. So I apologize that is more difficult than it should be, but not impossible. So if you're not getting a weekly or monthly email from me, you should definitely sign up, because that's when I get a little more personal and share extra bonus goodies and different things with the list. All right, y'all. And my goodness, the day of our Venus activation's pretty intense too. We've got Mercury Retrograde linking up with the Sun, which is the connection behind the scenes that allows you to connect with deeper review and release already underway because of the retrograde, right? And it's one of the activations with Mars, which I've already told you about is so special. Mercury hit Mars in August in Virgo, which, as we discussed, kind of woke up what needs to be healed and made whole within us so that we could go through this retrograde in Libra and determine what's going to restore balance, right? That's October 9th. And then Mercury is going to go forward. Mars is going to keep going the way it's been going, hit Scorpio, and they link up for the final time November 10th in Scorpio, which I think is going to be the conception point of all your new ideas or your new persona or your new story, or whatever it is that you are conceiving is going to get conceived in the Scorpio Sag time. So we're getting ready for that. All this Mercury work is warm up, it's exploratory, it's research and development behind the scenes so that we can make better decisions going forward. And of course, Mercury is going to link up with the Sun again once it goes direct. And that's when the new cycle for the quarter pretty much kicks off. But right now, we're just reviewing how we express ourselves. Communication being a huge focus, but is it reciprocated, meaning two-way and an exchange of ideas? As you prepare to initiate a new cycle of self-expression, you will have access to some powerful energy that can and probably will help you make a difference or an impression on others if you need to. This is often a good time to travel if possible. However, if not physically, then mentally through visualization or within your own area locally is fun too. I'm doing a lot of that in Colorado. Because if you explore a new direction, you are more likely to discover something new, right? This energy opens you up to a download of more information than usual. So pay attention. If you are solid and organized, you may even gain some much deserved recognition from others that you have earned through your own individual efforts. Okay, so I'm looking at this as more like the ancestors and the angels and your invisible team behind the scenes helping you, whereas when it hits again in a couple of weeks, that's the initiation of really moving forward, basically walking your talk and standing in your story and standing in the truth of your own journey. So what I did for this one, I'm not sure I did this on the last one because I caught all this, I think, after the August 18th one. But I will make sure it's included again in November because it'll be a good reminder to go over all three just to refresh yourself and make sure that you're coming out the other side the right way, right? Now, anytime Mercury conjunct Mars happens, we have a reset of the cycle. Any conjunction is a new cycle beginning. Again, because it fell during a retrograde, it's not really the new beginning. It's a process we have to go through to get to the new beginning, which will be more like November, December, January, and even beyond that, spring equinox. So I usually preface this with two things. When Mercury is involved, it's relatively fast moving. When Mars is involved, being the lower version of power, Pluto being the higher version, it reminds us that with power also comes responsibility. Now, all that said, the positive expression of this energy is that you can control your mind and direct it with passion, getting tangible results. Okay, so this is our thinking and our actions coming together to start a new cycle. But like I said, there's a review on the thinking first, so we really can't take those actions just yet. This heightens your intellectual ability and mental capacity for better or worse. You will be able to clearly articulate your thoughts and you should have quick, effective responses. Now again, that would be if Mercury was direct, right? Not necessarily during a retrograde. If you maintain your integrity, this is an excellent time to fuel major creative expression. If this energy manifests its negative side, it can make you petty and combative, arguing over nonsense and wasting precious time and energy in ego control dramas. And if it's not coming from you, it's just as possible to be coming at you from others. This is the best time to put your energy behind your thoughts, ideas, and words and get creative. The power of this pairing is that they are occupying the same space, essentially energizing each other and initiating a new 2-year cycle. This is going to allow you to dive even deeper than usual into your heart's desire to really explore and reset each area of life, infused with new ideas, thoughts, and concepts to guide your choices and decisions going forward. So see what I mean? It's like the review is in the choices decision side, but it's triggering a review in who you are and what you want as well. So when it went through Virgo, August, September, this is our warm-up and the initial check-in between our thinking and self-expression, as well as our identity and purpose, and how they initiate a new cycle periodically. And this time, it's in Virgo, which will automatically affect your Pisces, Gemini, and Sag departments. Is there alignment between how you think, what you want, and how much you or your system for living can actually handle or sustain? Okay, that's what happens when Mars energy is moving through Virgo. We recalibrate so that our systems can handle the energy we're pushing through it, right? It would be like a processor in a computer. Remember how the old school, there was i3 and i5 and i7 and God only knows what number they're up to. But that always meant that the speed was speeding up and the processor was able to handle more activities than the last one. And that's what's happening with us. We're getting a little bit of an upgrade. If there are any discrepancies, weaknesses, or deficiencies that can block or delay your ideas from flourishing, this is the time to assess and reset them. Now, you're going to get a chance to do that anyway with the retrograde. So don't feel like just because they both moved out of Virgo that you missed your boat. If you're up to it and you find the space and energy, by all means, clear the decks. Assess and reset where you can. That's what Virgo is all about. It's not about being picky and looking at everything that's wrong. It's about assessing what's not whole, what's missing in the pattern that would make it more fluid and more effective, right? Now, our activation this week is October 9th. While Mercury's retrograde, they're linking up in Libra. This is where the real essence of what needs to be reworked will probably come up. Any Mercury retrograde is going to have its own special flavor according to what other planets it interacts with during this time. In Libra, Mercury is going to initiate a new cycle with Mercury accessing the blessing of expanded consciousness with Jupiter that is going to help you dial in your new story, as long as we navigate the growth moment with Pluto with as much strength and integrity as we can muster. Basically, we are completely transforming how we express as individuals and how we relate and interact with others. And when that happens, we are blessed to have this renewed Mars energy and beneficial Jupiter energy to mitigate any challenges along the way. Also keep in mind that the transformation may be to your own thinking and ways of expressing, but it can also be to your creative ideas, repetitive thoughts, and guiding concepts. The best use of this time is to restore balance to your own mental body so that your interactions with others can be that much more creative, interesting, and educational. Deep breath. And of course, balanced and reciprocal is ultimately the goal. But in an individual, this is where, like it said, restore the balance to yourself so that you can choose better how you play with others. And then our last hit, which is just a good heads up because they're all connected. And I know some people don't think this way and they don't like to plan ahead like this or to have this much on their plate, and it can feel overwhelming. But the truth is, I'm talking to your subconscious higher self anyway. And they're getting it just fine, and they're moving your molecules around so that only what you can handle comes through anyway. But anytime in Scorpio, it's a conception point. Anything in Scorpio is a reset and a call to our soul to guide us. Okay? So when Mercury and Mars get there, how we think and who we are and what we want, we are conceiving a new consciousness and a new way of being in the world, of choosing, of doing, of acting. And it's deep, y'all. It's deep. But it's also, how blessed are we that it's a process? It's a step-by-step process instead of, bam, here you go, change, get it together, hope you can keep up. That does happen periodically, but thank God, not often. So this is our third and final opportunity to reset our individual consciousness, our thinking and choices, our self-expression and personal decisions. All of that can get reset, which has not only gotten the usual reboot that happens with Mercury and Mars every year, But it also coincided with a retrograde this year, suggesting that a renewal of consciousness is happening over 3 different areas of life. Your Virgo house, your Libra house, and your Scorpio house had to get upgrades in order to set forth and activate the true new beginning in Scorpio. This means that our soul gets a vote and will be very easy to commune with if we but set that intention and create the space for such communion to take place. Use this magical time to initiate a whole new way of expressing your deepest desires. Remember, this is the power of your mind and consciousness, along with the power of your choices and actions coming together to begin a new cycle. Deep breath. I love it. Right at the ancestor gate. So even if you are a little unsure at that point, you can totally ask your ancestors and get what you need. So I hope you all have a fantastic week and that this all finds you well and feeling supported. If you do feel a call to the ancestor class, by all means, join us this Saturday and the next 7 Saturdays, I should say. I can't wait to see what comes out of this, y'all. This is like my Earth Medicine School. This is going to be life-changing and probably changes to my professional work in terms of some of the ancestor work I do with the public. Some of you already know most of my ancestor work has been very, very solitary. And I'm just starting to do it in groups with other people. So, all right, y'all, have a fantastic week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being in my community. Reach out if you need to. This is Kelly Beard of Karmic Tools signing off. One love.